Jeremy, where does the race stand right now? What needs to happen tomorrow for us to win?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of a dumb cliche, but really, we need to just turn out and vote. But that actually does mean something. That means that from what I can see in these various states, and we've gone back and forth on this, I feel very good about where we are coming into Election Day. If we perform in the way that we should perform, I think that we win this. So if the people show up who we would traditionally expect to show up, I think that we win this. We're in a good position with early voting, certainly much, much better than we were in 2020. But we've got to ultimately, get the ball over the goal line, and that'll really determine how this goes.
Let's go state by state. So Arizona is off limits. Not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to think about it. Just I'm too close to it, and I'll talk about it once polls close. Nevada. What is going on in Nevada?
So in Nevada, we have most of the vote in at this point, and that is arguably the state. It's certainly one of the states, if it's not the state, that really looks almost the best for us compared to maybe expectations before early voting started. Traditionally, the Democrats have always had a big firewall lead, particularly from Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is, going in to the election day. We've made up a huge registration disadvantage in the state to the point that we're basically even now on voter registration, and we're about 42,000 as of, I think, this morning, votes ahead in terms of Republican ballots out there. We're going to also have a very good election day in Nevada, and really, at this point, the Democrats' hopes there hinge on either a lot more mail than I think is probably going to be out there from Clark County, or, and I think this will be kind of a general theme of these states, some unknown unknowns. So if for some reason independent voters, which are a large portion of the Nevada electorate, maybe 30% or so, if they were to snap unexpectedly strongly against us, that might cost us. But otherwise, I think we look really, really good in Nevada right now.
So let me ask you, the Nevada consensus is that the unions control that entire area in Clark County. Has Donald Trump kind of used the union weaponry against them? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, representing the muscular class. Is Nevada kind of ground zero for how we use the Democrat coalition and invert them?
Well, I think it could be. And certainly, I think, given the type of voters that we have in Nevada, fewer college-educated voters, more working-class voters, more service workers, the fact that we've made so much registration up in the last few years, I think does have something to do with the sort of appeal that Trump has. I do worry still a little bit about corruption in Nevada. Vegas, you might be shocked to know, is not always the most upstanding place. And they do have a rule that ballots can arrive up to 3 days after the election is over and still be counted. And the Nevada Supreme Court actually just came out and said, even if it doesn't have a postmark, it can be counted. That actually is a few percentage of votes. My hope is that we're going to have a bigger lead by then, so this will be irrelevant, but it is something to watch. And I think just the fundamentals in Nevada are really strong. At the time in 2020, when the electorate shifted 3.4% to the right, to the left, Nevada actually shifted slightly to the right. So we had a lot of them even going in, and I think Trump has really built on that momentum.
Okay, so Nevada, let's put that to rest here. North Carolina, what is going on in North Carolina? The Democrats are pouring money into this state. It's a very diverse state. I was just there. The West is nothing like the East. The Central is certainly nothing like the Southern part. I mean, you kind of have, North Carolina is a northern state. And that in some ways you feel as if you are totally south of the Mason-Dixon line as you go west, but as you go east, you feel as if you're in Greenwich, Connecticut. What's going on in North Carolina?
Yeah, that's well said. And I actually grew up in North Carolina, so I have a little bit of insight there. Again, I think when I talk about things look good compared to where they've been, we have our first ever lead, I believe, in the modern history of early voting. In that GOP, I believe, has about a 1%, maybe even a little bit more advantage in terms of ballots that are out there right now. So that's great. Again, there's a lot of independents, so it's not definitive, but it is encouraging. I am a little bit worried that there's still a lot of There's still a lot of kind of complications that we're dealing with from Hurricane Helene that hit Western North Carolina, of course, really hard. That is a very heavily Republican area. And when I've been looking at it, it still seems like turnout is lagging a little bit there. But, the fact that we're going in with this lead and probably about 80% of the vote, or, 70 to 80% at least, counted already, for us to be in a ballot lead and expecting a good election day, I think that we are going to be in very good shape going in. Again, if we lose North Carolina, I don't think it's going to be because of anything that we can see right now. It'll only be because something weird happened with independents, or a group that we were counting on for election day turnout just doesn't turn out. But I think this was a state we won by about 1.2, 1.3 points last term. And I think we're actually going to build on that margin. And I just don't see that we're going to lose that 1.3 points in this environment that would turn it over to Harris.
Georgia. So let's talk about Georgia. Georgia has early voting culture. Black turnout is down. What is going on in Georgia and Donald Trump's pathway to victory?
Yeah, again, you have a situation where Black turnout is down about a percent. I think white turnout is up 0.5% or so, or 1%. And you might look at that and say, well, that's not such a big deal. But you're talking about a race that was decided by fractions of a percent in the last election. So if we just had partisan voting according to form, I think you would expect, again, Georgia, where, again, we have probably 80% of the vote already in, you'd expect Georgia to at least narrowly go for us. We've had extremely strong turnout also in the rurals, particularly in North Georgia, much more so than normal. And we're kind of left with people who I think are pretty regular voters. I'd much rather count on some of these very regular voters in the suburbs to show up on election day. You can't always count on the rurals to the level that we've gotten them. So I think, again, things look good for us. We'll know a lot about Georgia and North Carolina shortly after the polls close. They will announce their a significant percentage, if not all, of their mail balloting, which will be a significant percentage of the state. I think if we're up for that early count, we should feel absolutely fantastic about our chances. I think if we were even within a point or two, I'll feel okay. If we're down more than that, then that would be a sign for early concern.